Welcome to Safe, Efficient, Profitable, a worker safety podcast, where we break down real problems from real situations and discuss realistic solutions. And here are your hosts, owners of Allen Safety LLC, Joe and Jen Allen.
Today we have a podcast. I'm checking here right and left to see if my body's even in the screen, or do I have a face for radio, or all the attention on Jen, because we've changed the camera. People say, can you get closer to the camera? I'm like, okay. But you notice I'm way over here now. So anyway, here we go. This is about stress, and part of it is making a podcast. Part of it is how do you handle stress? It's a two-part series. We're going to do one on stress, like you managing yourself. And the next one is about the interaction with all the other stuff. Because this week, I don't know how many more things we could have had. We had one of the roughest, stressful weeks ever this week between
work and personal regulations.
New school regulators, chemical leaks, evacuations. I mean, we just had you couldn't imagine contractor stuff that we're doing and projects that are going on across the country. It was an interesting week.
Never done the job that they're doing.
Yeah, but they don't tell you that always on the front end. Yeah, so that's so we thought it was a great week to do the stress one. Now you will probably notice you're like, wow, I watched these other episodes and they kind of dressed up a little more today. That's because if you were
fancy,
we never really got to wear any nice clothes on any events.
It's been 2000.
So like, let's wear something nice. Got to go to church anyway. Jen's like, well, can we just wear something nice for the podcast? So here we are.
I think that was literally the last time I dressed for work, just working at the hospital.
So as always, if you want to listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, anywhere you listen, and then we're on YouTube, you can watch us. But here we go. Two-part series. First one is how do you manage to stretch yourself a little bit? Second part is interactions with other people. All right, you're first, Jen.
First one is something's not working right, which was also something that happened this week. So if files or IT stuff or technology of some description, it's not working. And I think the biggest thing is teaching people to learn, just take a pause. What can we do? Because technology fails. The technology on the PITs, sometimes they don't work to do the pre-check.
Our technology failed this week. Some of our two main systems we used failed, and we're like, still got to keep going.
Yeah, they did updates, and the updates didn't work well, and we were down for the count for a little bit, so we had to go back to manual stuff. And I think that's the key. Is it's not a big deal if you have a backup plan, but when we have no safety net, that's when it's a problem.
I agree. You got to.
The second one is time bandits. You know, we typically think of social media as kind of being the time bandit, but I think in a workplace setting, a big one is having the alert on your email to let you know every single time someone sends you an email, or every single time you get a message from like the inner office messenger. Because if you're in like a flow state and you're just kicking it and you're knocking stuff out and you're deep in thought and writing your program or reading something, and then you get this alert, well, now it takes a little bit to get back into that space, that headspace. And it's like, maybe it's not that urgent.
It's communication overload. I worry about that all the time because of the platforms that we're on and the people that know us and the information how they can get a hold of if they have an issue. And I think it's great people reach out. At the same time, that's a lot of influx during the day. So it's how you're taking that different data and how do you accomplish anything when you're having all that.
If you're dropping everything you're doing every time you get an email in your inbox, you're just running around dealing with everybody else's problem. When are you actually, as a manager, managing the business, moving it forward, accomplishing your tasks in an organized manner? I mean, not everything is urgent. Some stuff is urgent.
I agree. You could have information overload where even like you're talking about, you get 15 emails because you opened it up and thought you were fine, or you're CC'd on stuff that you don't. By the time you read the chain, you don't even know why I'm even on this. But so for you and me and everyone else listening, it's to try to budget that time that you will not be disturbed in the 30 minutes. Unless it's super, super crazy, you got to not check. You almost got to turn the phone over or turn the lights off.
Do that.
Yep.
No. I mean, there is a do not disturb function on the phone, and it'll let critical contacts get a hold of you during that time. But I mean, that's the thing. It's kind of I treat it like it's the family. If you call me one time and you don't leave a message, I'm thinking it's fine. If you call me twice, leave a message, send a text or something like that, like I'm thinking it's crazy, it's critical. And so, then that is urgent and I'll stop what I'm doing for that. But I mean, if it's just like, hey, I was looking for this and I wasn't.
You got to email us then.
Yep.
I tell plants all the time, if you got a question, absolutely. But if it's urgent, start texting me only a couple times. Or leave a message. You got to let me know what's going on.
Text me. I'm thinking somebody's having a leak. And so I think that that's the biggest thing is that I noticed, and a lot of people that I work with and some people that are close to me, they're bad about that too, is that they'll answer the email the second it comes across and you never allow yourself to really get in that headspace of where you're just cranking out a work product and getting stuff done and crossing stuff off your list. And that adds to stress because then your list never gets shorter.
Yeah, so today, we have podcasts today. It's a Sunday because it's the only day we get it done between school and all the activities and soccers and horse. There was no time to get it done. So I'm getting up at, early this morning, way early, because I've got to write for work. And when else am I going to write? If I don't watch it, by the time I get up with everyone else, it'll be 8 o'clock at night. And I want to write some stuff at 8 o'clock at night, like I couldn't last night. So I had to get up early. You got to manage it yourself. You got to block those times yourself and say, I've got to get this done. And you may be getting up early. I can't work late at night. I don't know how some people do that because I'm like, I've gave it everything I could during the day and I'm tired. So
I think, open door policy is awesome, but I think there's also times when you're just like, I've got to close it for an hour.
Yep.
I don't need someone coming in and being like, hey, these safety glasses though. And you're like, yeah, okay. But I got this other stuff that's due. So I think part of it is also the way you organize your week. So just being realistic about what you can get done in a week. Because I think if it's Wednesday or Thursday and you're looking at your list and it's really long, that's almost worse.
Yeah, I put in my notes everything I want to accomplish that week, and on another notes I put everything I want to accomplish say Monday. And one for the week is my beautiful plan if everything goes right. The Monday one is absolutes.
Everything.
I have to get this done Monday before I go to sleep.
Well, and that's what I do. I can't do it on my phone. Even when I'm traveling, I've always done this for literally the last almost 20 years. I like to have a notebook and it's blank and I write out what I'm doing for the week and then I write out what I'm doing for that day. And if something gets kicked off my day list because I'm waiting on something from somebody else, I can't close it out, I need more data. Well, then I pick something else from that week list and I swap it out and I interchange them, but I'm still chopping down that list. And, there's times when you stray from it because some other thing comes up, but I think it helps you at least stay focused and you can get to that point of, okay, now I need to regroup, get back focused, and it draws your attention so there's less time, there's less lag time on, okay, where was I at again? Because that's part of it too, is that when you get all distracted, you lose your place, and then you're spending time trying to regroup and figure out where you're at.
I plan my day. I only have half a day.
Yeah.
So that's how I plan. I don't plan all 8 hours. I got about 4 hours max. So if I have more time than that, that's great. Here's the other things I'm going to work on. But if I don't, I have to get that 4 hours done because 24 hours, there's absolutes. I got to get them done that day. If people cannot wait multiple days for some stuff, I have to get it done that day. So I will actually sometimes say, I'm only going to do this for 30 minutes. I'm going to pause. And in 2 hours from now, I'm going to do 30 minutes. Now, I may still be working in between, but that subject of that idea, I've got to give myself a detox time to see the picture differently if I'm trying to write. I don't sit down and write for 3 hours straight like some people can. I can't. My brain don't work that way.
That's why people have editors. You don't see the problem anymore. And then you end up starting to do the same thing over and over where you're missing it and you're making more errors and now you're causing more time and more labor to go back and fix that error because you didn't see it. And part of that, I think, is also just attributed to not having any disconnect time.
Sure.
When you're in it all the time and you never give your head a break, I think that causes you to just miss stuff too.
Yeah, we did vacation a few weeks ago, and for everybody that knows anything about me, I really don't like to say, okay, we're doing vacation, because I don't think you can ever turn it off as an owner. But what I do is I say, okay, I'm going to say that on Tuesday during vacation, this is my 2-hour window to get that list done. Because I know I can get it done on Tuesday, my Monday's free and I'm open. I spend more time on the vacation enjoying it because I know that stress is off me because I have that time allotted. If I don't, even though people say, take all that time off, As an owner or as a manager, you know the emails are still coming. You know the world's still going to be crazy. So you almost start stressing halfway through your vacation. What am I, how bad is it going to get? So to me, it's easier to take small parts during the week where I'm managing, where I know everything's okay and I sleep and I know I've got that time, than it is trying to just, I can't completely detach. I can't do that. So.
Well, and I think a big part of it too is recognizing it is not realistic every time you get stressed out to take a vacation. I mean,
Right.
not for us anyway. So it's figuring out how you're going to deal with that. You still have to have a period of time to let your brain kind of catalog all the inputs that have happened. So if you're just having technology overload and information overload and negative overload and everything, you're just feeling like everybody's got all this negative data to tell you. You still have to catalog that somehow in your brain and figure out, can I do something about this? Am I going to do something about this? What is that plan going to look like? And you still have to give yourself some time to go through that. Otherwise, you can't ever close it out. It's always right there in your mind. And it's you don't rest well. You're not really super present, I've noticed, with the kids. I mean, I know I'm not. That if you don't give yourself that 10, 15, I mean, it can be sitting in your driveway.
Absolutely.
15 minutes in the car can change everything, where you're just like, I need to breathe for a minute before I walk into chaos again, you know?
I kind of look at it like if I have something I have to fix, I have an 8-hour drive ahead of me. I don't really listen to, I mean, there's only so much music you can listen to, and there's only so many other things you can listen to, period, whatever that is. So I say, okay, what can I do? I can sit it for 2 hours in this drive, and my job is to figure out how to fix that road.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's amazing. You don't even realize the 2 hours went by, because you don't realize how much thought you really had to put into it till you start. When you're not doing anything else, your solutions, including you not doing it, your solutions come like crazy.
Well, I think that's what flow state is, where you almost lose track of time. I mean, I'm not advocating that this works for everybody, obviously. I'm not a health person, so talk to your doctor. But I run, and how I decide I'm done with my run is when I feel like I'm literally, like, I've gotten to that space, I've been able to think it through, and I've lost track of how many miles, how many minutes, and I feel like that's how I sort out problems. But I have to run a certain distance before I can even, like, almost turn my brain off and get into that headspace of creativity and problem solving, and that's how I know I'm detoxed. And then I come back and I'm ready to work. I'm creative.
Absolutely.
I'm open-minded. I can solve problems. Where before I may have been super frustrated, not in a great headspace, you know. That's what it takes for me. So sometimes it's just sitting in silence. Sometimes it's going for a run. But I think I would advocate, find something that works for you and take a few minutes.
Because you can actually find out, is it really on your list? That's what I decide
You're
sometimes.
like, why is this my problem?
Yeah, after about 35 minutes of driving, I'm like, am I really the most qualified to do this? Or am I spending all my time doing something that someone else can do in 5 minutes?
Yeah. I'm sitting here trying to figure this out instead of, reaching out to somebody else who this is literally all they do all day. That happened with the website situation.
Yeah, we had some issues with the website this week, and that we don't know how to do that.
Hours trying to figure out YouTube videos, or I can call someone and they can fix it in 15 minutes.
And they were like, "Oh, I got it down. What else you need?" And you're like, "Okay, that was a huge stressor. I mean, our stress was extremely high over that, and it's something they fixed like nothing."
Yeah. And then again, I think it's knowing when to stop, because you're making it worse.
And what you can do and what you should do is two totally different worlds.
Yeah.
I say to people, and just because we can do a process doesn't mean we should. Yeah. Because if the time is too long to do that process, we lost revenue, we lost creativity, we lost time, whatever you want to call it. You have to stop that cycle. Yeah. and relieve that stress off of you by saying, okay, I understand this is where my part ends, and I can't do this effectively.
Yeah. Well, I had this week, I had some documents get put in the wrong file folder. And I was trying to run those down, and they're from last year, but because my head wasn't in the game, I didn't catch that they were from last year, so they're irrelevant, and they shouldn't ever even be on my list. So it's hard as knowing when to stop for the day, knowing when to walk away, knowing I need to put this on pause, come back to it later. I think the big thing that is problematic with that is procedures, assessments, any of those multiple SOPs. There's a bunch of them. I think it can be sometimes problematic because you're just doing one and one and one.
You have hundreds of lockout procedures, hundreds of procedures, hundreds of PPE. I mean, you just
because I'm trying to crank them out so fast.
You feel like you're lost.
I'm missing the error, and now I have to go back to all the 35 that I just did and go back and correct that sentence because I didn't realize it's in every single one of them.
Also, it's about growing other people's careers.
Yeah.
We are hiring and we are a training company, so we believe that part of the training is to teach people how to do that when we're not there. I mean, that's literally what we're doing.
It's hard initially.
Because you just want to help someone with the harness. You want to help them with their document. I'll just show you how to do it real quick so it helps you. But if you don't let them go through, even our new hires, if you don't let them go through those processes, you're hurting them.
Yeah. And then you're doing it forever.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're just, it is faster and quicker because I've done it for a certain period of time. For me, just do it real quick myself. But I am never getting out of that job then.
It's still stress. You're always worried about it.
You're never getting it off your list. That goes back to the list never gets shorter because you keep adding stuff to it.
Even on these podcasts, if you listen to us, they've changed every week a little bit different formats, and we have different formats still coming out. And more of that is, what are we part of? What are we not? How do we cover? I mean, the idea is how to let that process take its own course, and not be stressed about the outcome because it has to go.
Yeah, well, and I think part of it too, when you're working at the plant, is really focusing on the root cause of whatever's going on. I think sometimes we're trying so hard to get ready for an audit or fix this real quick, and we just keep fixing the problem, like that's right in front of us, instead of going all the way back. And I think the biggest one for this is fixing the electric cord. Yep. Why are their wires exposed? Why is the conduit busted? Figure that out first. Quit fixing the electrical.
Yeah,
quit fixing the conduit that's busted. Figure out why it's broken.
Yeah, last week I was at a location and I said to them, I bet that breaks every week. And like, well, how would you know that? I'm like, because there's a machine that's hooked to it, and that machine is always tight where the length is. The cord's not the right length. So every morning when they pull it out, they stress the cord. I'm like, well, you're always going to fight that battle.
Yeah, and that's, again, your list that shouldn't be on your list.
Yeah.
You never get your list shorter because you have these repeat items. So I think the thing is, anything that's a repeat item, you got to look for a process and a fix-all that gets that item permanently off of the list.
I think 80% of the manager's job is to run the business, and 20% is to process improvement. But you can't get to process improvement if 100% of your day is fixing the problems from yesterday. Well, so you have to get those things down.
You can't do the process improvement part if you're never evaluating if the circumstances are different.
Right.
This is the way we've always done it.
And if you sit in the office and write too many documents and you don't correlate to the floor first, you're not seeing the cycle. Yeah. And people ask, how can we go into location and see so much so fast? It's not anything that's crazy. We're just looking for the cycle and the movement of it. And then that tells you a story. Then you go look at your document. But if you don't watch it, you'll be spending all your hours doing the document and it doesn't correlate. You feel like you got to start all over again. Double. Doing it again. Doing it again.
Back to now it's never getting off your list because you weren't able to cross it off because you've got to keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on and evaluate if we're not doing this anymore, or is there a better way? Well, let's do that. If circumstances are different and we've changed a bunch of things, well, let's adapt to that. Instead of worrying about, well, this is the way we always did it. Well, who cares? It's not working anymore.
All I want to know when I go to the floor, we're about to close on this one, is to say, I'm not the expert of how to do it in this area, but I am a resource or an expert of how to get to that end result. Because I still want that supervisor or hourly helping me because they're going to tell me how it really works during the day. And my stress level or that manager's stress level, the only way we're going to get out of that cycle is we have to work as a team. And then when we find out what's the real solution, now all of our lists get shorter. And that's the goal. The goal is all of our lists and all of our stress to go down.
Yep.
All right, Jen, you get to close this one out.
Well, I think that's it for this one. Next week, like we talked about, we're going to talk about how to manage all the negative inputs or information
from other sources
and interactions with other people that are maybe not super positive all the time. So
for this one, detox as in your brain, drive, run, exercise, take 20 minutes for yourself. You're important. You got to have that time for yourself. I always tell myself, if someone called right now and they had a problem, which they do, am I in a state to handle it? And if I'm not in that state, then I'm not helping them at all. You got to look at your whole day like that. You're a manager. Your job is to be ready for that moment because you don't know when it's coming and be able to be that resource they're looking for. So you don't want the stress on yourself.
Well, I think part of it is being able to be that person for your family and friends.
Absolutely.
And stuff that count on you also.
You have to be. I mean, we have the kids now, we never did, and now I block time for that. That's just life. So it's how you manage that stress. So take time for yourself, take time for the family. It will make you feel incredible the week, and you'll find out that the list that was big really isn't as big as you thought it was.
Yeah. It's not as critical maybe as it seemed.
That's correct. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening.
Have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Safe, Efficient, Profitable, a worker safety podcast. If you're looking for more in-depth discussions or step-by-step solutions on all of the different safety and regulatory topics, please visit us at www.allensafetycoaching.com for web-based virtual coaching and training, or at www.allen-safety.com to book our team for on-site services, training sessions, to order merchandise, to learn more about our team and what services we provide in the field, or just simply to request a topic for us to cover on our next podcast. If you found today's podcast helpful and would like to support our podcast further, please help us by subscribing, liking, and sharing this podcast with anyone that could benefit from the information we cover here, as that helps us to continue to put out this free content. Thank you so much for your support.